All right, so we're going to go through the development process, which is a decent process for what we're doing, and it's what I do in all my programming classes. One of the hardest things about learning programming is, where do I start? And you don't start by typing in code. You start by solving the problem. You figure out the algorithm. And an algorithm is the solution to the problem. We're always trying to solve problems. Sometimes the problem is, how can we improve this software? How can we make it easier to use? Which really isn't a problem, it's an improvement. But we're always solving something. So with Visual Studio Code, when I right-click on the folder I'm in, go to More Options, I open it as a folder, which is going to be more important with Java. Java programs won't run right unless you open the folder like that, or go into Visual Studio Code and open the folder. Visual Studio Code, when it opens a folder, it automatically creates a project based on whatever file you open. We saw that on Monday when we opened the Java file. It said activating Java and all this stuff. And right now we're working with single file programs, but because we're in computer science and going more, we're going to start working with programs that have multiple files. You know, today we're not. Oh, maybe we will, as a good review. So I'm going to right click. I can also, here's this little guy. Let's make a, what should we do? We'll do a math program since I can't think of anything else. Okay, so what do we want our program to do? What are the three things that all programs do? I do my pseudocode like this. Generally, what's the first thing a program does?
Tells you what it's going to do.
Oh yeah, title page. That's good, yeah. So I put that in there. Yeah, we'll just say title math. I don't know how to turn off the stupid thing when I don't want it. Oh, maybe that's it. That's new. Okay. Ah, there we go. Now I'm not going to have things going on. So that's a good one. And then after the program comes up, it's probably going to give you some sort of menu. And then what happens? We get input. Generally, we get some sort of input. And we do some sort of output. But first, before we do output, yeah, we do a calculation of some sort. We manipulate whatever came in, or we go to a website, or we do something, you know. And then, yes, at some point we do need output. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, we just have a program that doesn't do anything. I'm not coming up with ideas, but let me look in my USB drive and we'll come up with something that we can build. All right, it is encrypted, by the way. Jackie kept threatening to wipe out my drive on my computer, so I thought I better take care of that. See if I have any interesting ideas. Examples. Yeah, these are, I will just do miles per gallon. That's an easy one. MPG. So now I've got all my stuff. I'm going to get not just input, but now I'm going to be specific. To calculate miles per gallon, what information do I need?
Number of miles.
Number of miles, yep. I need the miles. What else do I need?
Gallons.
Gallons. So I'm not writing code yet. I'm just thinking through, okay, I need to get miles and gallons from the user, right? So once I have that, what is my calculation going to look like? How do I get miles per gallon from miles and gallon? What's my calculation? So if I have 10 gallons of gas and I go 100 miles, I would be doing 10 miles per gallon, right? Did I say 10 gallons of gas? Yeah, 10 gallons of gas. If I go 100 miles, I get 10 miles per gallon. Is that the right way around? Yeah, that's right. So you divide gallons.
Would it be? It would be miles by gallon. So you divide miles by gallon. That's right.
Because I think that's, oh, okay, yeah, all right. That's the problem when you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives us, now notice I did it the math way. The math way is this way. I could have done it the other way in my to-do also, doesn't matter. But we know in programming, we do our operation, whatever it is, assign it to something on the left. And then, of course, I would output, it's quite common to echo input. And then print MPG, right? So that they know what they typed in. You'd say 100 miles with 5 gallons of gas gives you 50 miles to the gallon. Or no, it's not 50, it's 20 miles to the gallon. Make sense? So Python's not tough. We'll just do a simple print statement. You can get fancy. MPG. Oh boy, that's pretty boring, isn't it? But you can make it look like something 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's how many I had. Okay, there it is. Isn't that lovely? Lots of programs that you use in administration, system administration, a lot of stuff that you do with programming is command line based. Lots of utilities are command line based. Where a lot of computer science and software development goes that you see pretty pictures is web development. And we're going to do Flask web development later on. This website has actually 2 different types of stuff going on. This is Internet Information Server, which is built into Windows Server. So far, so good. So it uses it uses C# as its programming language. There's nothing programmed in here. It's just links. It's just HTML, CSS. HTML provides the framework. Cascading style sheets makes it look pretty. And there's a gazillion websites and places that'll teach you how to use HTML5 as the current version and CSS whatever. I'm also using a framework on this called Bootstrap, which has a bunch of predefined stuff that makes it easy for me. Yeah. And it also helps you easily build what's called responsive design. You look at this in the phone, what the hell it does. Makes it look nice in the phone. So I don't have to be fancy. I just use this, which is very common to use this kind of stuff, that they build a lot of stuff for you. This is open source. And this is running on IIS. Well, what do you suppose happens when I go here? I'm running on Flask now. And it has its own little web server because I wanted to learn about Flask. So that's why I kind of built this in Flask. Believe it or not, I tell you not to use AI and all that sort of stuff. Well, I wanted to get this project done quickly, so probably 80% of it is Copilot. It basically built a starting out web page and then I tweaked it. I didn't like how it arranged things, so I moved stuff around. I did various things to it. But as a professional developer, do you suppose that's one of the ways you might get things done quickly? Oh, yeah. And there is an art and science to using prompts. Right now, we want to learn how to do it the hard way. But we also have sensors. So there we are. We have sensors. I showed you the fish art. This doesn't always update right, but they are happy. I don't know why it does that, but you can see here they're happy. Okay, so that's run by, so Bootstrap, Flask, they're called frameworks, meaning they have a bunch of stuff already put together that you can use, where you don't have to do it all manually. It's good to know how to do it manually, however. All right, so we printed our MPG calculator. We're going to do our miles, and then we do input, and we'll just make it simple. There, what else do I need to do to this? What
Gallons.
type?
You gotta put gallons.
Well, what's wrong with this statement? I'm going to calculate,
Well, you're gonna need it as either a float or an integer.
right? Everything coming into a computer, everything is text. It's all strings. Any input from the keyboard, I should say that, from the keyboard is text and strings. You can get other input that actually is binary, which you get if you're like sending something over the network, which we'll get in some class or another. So yes, in this case, we'll do float. Now, when we get to doing variables in Java, you'll notice that you can't just type in float and then Python, Java takes care of it. You have to do a bunch of other stuff, which we're going to get to next week. So now I have a float value, and I'm going to copy and paste this, change it to protect the innocent, which is referring to Dragnet, a show that probably nobody here has seen, maybe Sean, maybe not. I'm guessing not.
No, okay,
Okay,
thank you.
okay, so now we're getting two different input, two different name, they're float values, right? And we do our calculation, MPG. And got it right this time, right? Now, this little part where it's filling in stuff that already exists, that's called IntelliSense, and lots of IDEs have that. What does IDE stand for?
Integrated development environment.
Yes, integrated development environment. That's a lot to say. So when we're talking about IDEs, we just say IDE. Like Visual Code is a really flexible IDE, meaning we can, everything we're going to program, SQL, whatever, HTML, CSS, we can do it all in here. I think that's what Joseph was using, wasn't he? Was he using Visual
For what?
Studio Code?
Thanks for the most part.
Yeah, I was talking about Joseph Obama, this, one of my former students who was working with OM. So a lot of developers use Visual Studio Code because it's simple and you can add in all kinds of extensions that will let you program in Rust and all kinds of stuff, which we'll do a little bit of Rust next semester. Okay, miles divided by, what was it? Oh, gallons. So this is IntelliSense. So once you get it started and it's got the right thing highlighted, you can use what's called tab completion, which also works when you're working on the command line. You can do tab completion. We are going to do programming in Linux. We want to know about Linux. My server in the back of the room is a Microsoft Windows 2025 server. It doesn't cost me my program anything because the college volleys a license that on any WNCC device, we can install server, whatever we want. We do pay a buckload of money for it. You can, as a student, get a free copy of Windows 2025. Mike, one of the students that Owen worked with in the first part of the summer, which I think some of you have met Mike, he's working at Century 21 right now. He does everything in Linux. Why do you suppose someone would do everything in Linux?
Because that's what he's comfortable with.
Yeah, that's a good reason. Why else? No,
It's not as
serious.
locked down of a, like it's more customizable.
Yeah, more customizable. Owen said less overhead, but really what's the big one? I mentioned it just earlier. I said WNCC has an enterprise license that costs us a
Oh,
buttload of money,
Open source.
open source, free, yes. But that does mean that you have to know what you're doing. So where they make money from Linux is like Red Hat Linux. What do they sell? They sell their own Linux, but they support it. So when you buy stuff from them, you buy a support contract because if you're Amazon and you're making $5 million an hour and you lose connections and things don't work for 5 minutes, you want somebody right there who's an expert. If you're doing this at home and you have a fish can, who cares? You figure it out yourself. If you get it running a week later, it's fine. All right. So is all this relevant? Yeah, more or less. All right, so we're going to print out so in Python, we use our F strings formatting because it looks nice and it's the most modern way in Python to format and put together variables and text. So we put an F in front of our double quotes, and I'm going to say miles because I want to echo the input. And then the little curly braces, that's what I call them. Some, like British people tend to call them curly brackets, depending on what part of the world you're from. Sometimes they'll call these just brackets. Miles, and then we put in our variable. This little guy converts this into text with this guy. And I can't remember I always have to look up, like keeping the decimal place.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Anyway, we won't go there. We'll look it up. That's what I do when I can't remember things. Do you have to remember things? No, you just have to know where to find the answer. There, and then we do print. Same thing, MPG. And then this little guy, and then MPG. Now notice the naming convention is different in Python than it is in Java. In Python, if I was going to do more than one word, if you remember that, I would do miles underscore PER underscore gal. Would it work fine if I had this in any other type of format? The program would compile fine. why do I want to keep to the standards?
Good at it.
It's a good habit, yeah. That way you're consistent. It's a good one. What else? Python says so. They have what's called Python enhancement proposals. They actually have a whole bunch of stuff on naming convention things. But why in an environment, if you're working with someone else, would it be important to stick to the standard ways of doing things?
They might not be familiar with other conventions.
This way, if we all program Python with the same syntax, that's what that's called, how you type it in, it's easier for me to recognize what's going on. Because if you guys did a program not even exactly like this, but if you use the same syntax, I can scan through it very quickly and figure out what's going on. And when I'm looking at Python, I'm used to seeing things like this. I'm not used to seeing in Python like we do in Java, which is this. That's Java does that for all the variables and everything, plus their class names.
Yeah.
They do it like that. That's called camel casing, where the other one's called snake casing. That's what this is called, snake casing. This is camel casing. There's also another one called Hungarian something, but we don't, there's no languages we use that use that. Control Z is my friend. Right. So this is a pretty easy to understand program. Does it need any more commenting than this for this program? No, really it doesn't.
I have a question, Bill.
Yeah.
So I noticed that with the F formatting, you can do that with if there's text right after. How do you do the F formatting if you decide to put the miles per gallons at the front?
It's the same thing. I would move this text over here. Because
Okay.
between the curly braces is the variable value. So we've calculated the value in these two little containers, assigned it to that container. This pulls out the value of this variable, converts it to a string. So that's what the little curly braces do. When you have an F in front of it, Python says, oh, anything between curly braces, I'm going to convert to a string and display it on the screen.
It's got to be inside the quotes, right?
Right. That
Okay.
part, you can't just take it outside the quotes because then it'll think it's just text. You won't get the value that's contained in the variable. But you can have it in any order, you know.
Okay.
You can have, I mean, you could put in any number of variables in this whole line if you wanted. You know, you can put in multiple variables, doesn't matter. And the order doesn't matter. This would kind of look funny, but it'd work. You know, that's probably not the most intuitive interface, which is something else that you think of when you're doing a program. How can I make this intuitive? And yeah, 1.0 MPG kind of looks a little bit weird, doesn't it?
And if you wanted to convert that instead of being a float, if you wanted to change it to be an integer or like less decimal points, like if it doesn't need it.
Yeah, that's the F string formatting thing. I'll just have to bring up a program where it's in there. Otherwise I forget.
Like .2f or something like
Yeah,
that.
oh, this kind of looks familiar, doesn't it? We just actually
Remember how to do it?
just did the same thing. My little sample program is the same thing. Okay, I need to go to a newer chapter here. Because I know I'll have stuff in functions that'll work. We'll do the Oregon Trail Adventure. Oh, but this doesn't have money. Oh, it does. We're buying supplies. Ah. Of course, I'm looking for it. I can't find it anymore. Hangman Dave's, no. Three Cup Monty, brother.
The paint job estimator might.
Ah, yes, that's gonna have one, because that's Peggy's paint job estimator. Yep. That'll have one. So once I see it, I'll remember it. Now, so far it's not having it, is it?
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
See, what I forget is like the order of these things. Oh, it starts with colon. Yeah, if I'm working with it a lot, which I haven't been working with any of that stuff very much recently. There, that does. Colon says that a formatting thing is coming up. This says put in commas for the thousands separator. It's called a thousand separator, which means that we would have 1, comma, 000 is what would display. But we can't calculate with something that has a comma in it. But it's easier for us to read like that. And then .2 means we're going to have two decimal places, and F means it's a float. So if we want to round it completely off, like Joe was talking about, there it is. You can also use the round function, but the round function rounds the variable. This rounds only the output. The variable has the same value.
It's still a float. It's just showing different.
Yes, it still could have 20 or 20 decimal point, whatever it is. This will still have that, but it only displays a certain amount. If we use the round function, for example, which is built into Python and rounded MPG, that would actually round, oh, it's not MPG, it's miles per gallon. That would actually round the value, which sometimes you want to do. You want to round off the value. So I want to have the value be only two decimal places. Now, if I assign that to something or print it out, miles per gallon is getting rounded off to 2, and that's the value it has. So if I do this and then do MPG equals, now this is actually contains the rounded off value, where this one is displaying the rounded off value, but gallons never changes. And for this program, it doesn't matter which way you do it. But if you're going to use that variable later and you want it to keep your value, you would use this. And also, this is a lot simpler than doing the whole round thing. But in effect, for display, it's the same thing, but two different things are happening. Yes?
Sorry, I think I wasn't following. So what's the 0 for again?
The 0 means that it's only going to show 0 decimal places. Well, I should have put it down there, shouldn't I? Let's do a better example. I meant to put it there, but I didn't. So for instance, if I put in, and I'm going to get a float value. Oh, no, I'm not, because I'm only displaying up to the integer. But the value is still there.
So the 0 doesn't mean you're not going to get a float?
It's still a float, I'm just not showing it.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
2 is very common because 2 decimal places is usually all we want to show, like for money. There, now we're doing 0.95 because I said 2. I could say 4, I could say 8, I could say 1. If I say 0, then I'm getting an integer display. It's common with money to do this, to put in a thousand separator and do .2, because we're used to seeing United States currency in 1.00, you know, $1 or $1,000. We're used to seeing that. Oh, we can show that here. We'll do bunch of miles. How would I make it do more gallons to the mile? I have to do a lot of miles. Whoops. That doesn't change focus. So we'll do a bunch of miles and a little bit of gas. There. Now, if you can invent a car that does that, you can buy your own island. And all the dancing girls that you could possibly want. That's what the comma separator does, or they call it the thousand separator, because it separates, in our decimal system, it separates each thousand. It's just why they call it that. So far, so good?
Thanks for going over that.
Sure. No, that's a relevant idea. I mean, it's good questions. Because with computer science, we don't just want to be able to program. We want to understand what the heck's going on. And we're not going to necessarily be able to do that with Python, because Python has a big, what I would call an abstraction layer. I mean, you're typing in simple stuff, but at the bottom of it, it's all ones and zeros and pretty complex. Python is doing a lot of the work for you. Java, we have to do more work. We have to say system.out.println. We have to tell things where to go. Here, print takes care of that. When you get to C++, well, now we're closer to the hardware. It runs faster, but we have to do more work on our end.